Wally.
Welcome back to the show.
9 to noon.
Time for two more.
Now, let's do it. Hey, it's sunny in the neighborhood. Blue skies for today. It's beautiful outside. And there is a massive, massive, massive piece of news everybody is discussing. And it just popped recently. Quite honestly, it's captured the imagination of the nation. And 9 to noon is here to hit on the A topics and the pertinent topics whenever they emerge. Like, the Chicago White Sox have lost 21 consecutive games. That's 1 from an American League record and 3 from a Major League Baseball record. They hooked the Athletics tonight. This is 9 to noon. Good morning. It's Paul Allen, Nordo by my side. The boys are back at practice today, the boys being the boys that wear purple and gold, leading up to the first preseason game and potentially the official, unofficial starting debut of quarterback Sam Darnold. So let's begin 9 to noon after properly recognizing the massive news everybody is discussing that has captured the imagination of the nation and recognize that there's some work to be done right now. So permit 9 to noon to do the work for the social media aggregators. No change to the quarterback take in that Darnold, McCarthy, and Hall should play in this game, and for various reasons. Sam likely being the starting quarterback for a really good offense. And on behalf of the fans at US Bank Stadium, I think they will enjoy him for a spell. Then there's McCarthy, and the hullabaloo will begin the first time observant rubes pick up on the 21-year-old warming up with somebody on the sideline. It's going to be like, hey, Ma, look, JJ's warming up.
I always love that one.
Then, when he enters, even though he hasn't played a snap wearing the colors, he will hit the field for the first time, and I predict to a rousing ovation. Nothing personal to Sam, but McCarthy is the rookie for whom your favorite team traded up, and those who only watch clips on social media think we have a combo of Patty Mahomes and Fran the Man on the Fan.
I always love that one.
So, Agro-clip recap. I love the guy. Love the chances I get to sit down and talk with him off the microphone. I'm really enjoying watching the fastball pitcher learn the football changeup, then the circle change. When he plays Saturday, I'd guess he'll get the second-ish line and skill guys, and who knows what he's going to see in the silver and black. Really, 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 really hoping we get to see a long run that involves a key broken tackle because J.J. McCarthy is strong and all hyper and cares about giving each and every one of you watching the game, listening to the game, or in attendance, a good show. If Sam plays, let's make some plays. Let's look natural. Moving around and getting out of this life changer Saturday at 3 o'clock on KFAN against the Raiders live. But then there's this. It'd be very cool if Jaron Hall played several series. And it would be interesting if he, say, went a bit off schedule.
Oh my gosh.
And tears it up. And then, like, maybe somebody would trade for him. Now, we're not trying to run him out of town, but just feel me on this. Think about Jaron's situation. Think about the second-year quarterback from BYU's lot in life. Drafted here, Would have been drafted somewhere else if he wasn't drafted here. And he's probably deducing he ain't going to be here in a month. I didn't say it. Aggregators, I'm not running him out of town. I'm speculating on his deduction. This is deduction speculation courtesy of 9 to noon. But he may be deducing he ain't going to be here in a month. The last quarterback in preseason games gets all kinds of players with him. And ain't nobody displaying Air Coryell and dusting off their best read options for the fourth quarter of a preseason game.
I always love that one.
And that could be the time young Jaron gets the opportunity to ball. So now the conspiracy theory. What if Hall plays and enters and goes willy-nilly on the bit and tries to play like Mike Vick or changes the plays so like he and Thayer Thomas can hook up on one of KO's choice selections?
Time for 2 more.
On one of KO's choice selections. A prime selection each and every 9 to noon is a little ditty we call VikesBites. There's no subterfuge with it. We're just wondering what lots in life are like heading into the first preseason game. And VikesBites is here to carry you through more with this big day with massive news, something that's capturing the imagination of the nation. And here they are.
Thank you to Thousand Hills for bringing you VikesBites each and every day. VikesBites is brought to you by Thousand Hills Lifetime Grazed Grass-Fed Beef. And you can go to the website, thousandhillslifetimegrazed.com. Learn more about regenerative agriculture. You can get a box of meat showing up at your doorstep. You can get them at co-ops. You can get them at Coburn's locations. It's all good with Thousand Hills. This is...
Any shot at my conspiracy theory transpiring?
If you're going to go, and you know you got to go...
Thank you.
Go out on your own terms.
I always love that one.
Now, that didn't work for Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams in a playoff game a couple of years back, but it could work out for him. It's not about sympathy. He ultimately was drafted here. He had very limited reps, weird situation a year ago.
Yeah.
But I do root for a guy like Jaron Hall.
So do I.
Entering just his second year and already effectively being wiped off the table in terms of the depth chart.
How can you not root for him?
And so you're hoping that he gets plenty of run and gets picked up by somebody at some point through between now and the end of camp.
I'm just wondering what it's going to look like if he plays this weekend. I mean, if he deduces the fact there are 4 there, and if one of them does not play because they know what they get out of one of them, and the BYU kid gets an opportunity to display whatever he can do.
Yeah.
It's you ain't playing with JJ. I mean, I don't know who he would be playing with. I don't know what the plays would be, but I don't think they'd be the most aggressive plays ever. So what if he gets in there and just like draws it up in the metaphorical sand and puts Lucky Jackson on a bunch of like deep routes and things like that, and KOC's like, ah!
Well, that's what I'm looking at now is by the end of the third quarter into the fourth, it might be Lucky Jackson. It might be Malik Knowles or undrafted rookies Ty James, Deshaun Jones. And then from a tight end standpoint, is N'Keal Harry in the mix? Sammy Reyes.
Right.
Don't forget about Trey Knox. The weapons might not be well known.
Don't sleep on Jeshwan Jones.
The Mullins is the guy that's probably not playing, right? In this scenario?
Well,
do you get Mullins reps?
I can't see how you play 4. And Mullins has had minimal reps during the practices, and it doesn't mean he ain't going to be on the team. It's just, I just kind of get the feel like they know what they're going to get from him. You know what I mean?
Put him on ice. Absolutely. Unfortunately, he might be on ice. And by he, I mean from an A-section selection.
Yeah.
Vikings wide receiver. This is according to our 10 a.m. guest, Ben Gessling.
What happened?
Vikings wide receiver Jordan Addison was officially charged with 2 misdemeanors in L.A. County after his July 12th arrest near L.A. International Airport on suspicion of drunken driving. He was charged, it looks like actually it was a week ago, July 31st. Driving under the influence of alcohol, driving with a blood alcohol content over California's legal limit of 0.08%. after officers found him asleep behind the wheel of a Rolls-Royce, blocking lanes of a freeway near the airport. He has an October 7th appearance in Los Angeles court to be arraigned and enter his plea. If he is convicted or pleads guilty, he could face up to 6 months in jail, pay fines up to $2,000, or lose his driver's license for up to 6 months. According to the NFL's policy and program on substances of abuse, players face a 3-game suspension for their first criminal offense regarding alcohol use, absent any aggravating circumstances that would lead to further discipline. So we expected that at some point this would come out and kind of finding some finality with the situation. I'm interested, though, because the actual court appearance is not until October. So the league, if he is convicted, pleads guilty, they can suspend him for 3 games. That's kind of where the precedent is set. So are they suspending him for the first 3 games of the season prior to him even going to court in Los Angeles for this? Again, October 7th?
Right.
Are they, is that a situation, do the Vikings have a way of talking to the league about this or working through it? Is it a situation where he pleads on October 7th and we're still waiting for the 3 games to come down? It's a very tricky situation right now with Mr. Addison, PA.
It's very timely. The scribe, Ben Gessling, is in studio today about 45 minutes from now because he would be more dialed into the answers to those questions than yours truly.
Indeed, but as part of preseason and part of these other things moving up here, another talker that has presented itself would be the 3rd wide receiver, PA. Yep. So Jalen Naylor, Brandon Powell, TJ Hawkinson, it sounds like, looks great in whatever capacity that is, running and doing some things off to the side on, as you've coined it, the Mike Hughes Memorial Practice Field. Mm-hmm. But these guys are potentially early and often, if it is the first 3 games of the season. Again, he doesn't go to court until October 7th. That's why I've struggled with finding and how that would happen. But all the same, focusing on those guys moving forward.
Well, the Trent Sherfield Jr. Is in the mix. I ain't saying he's going to make the team, but that's a name to keep eyes and or ears on if you're listening to the KFAN Identity of Minnesota Vikings football this time, slot 9 to noon. Thayer Thomas would be another name attempting to win WR5. How many wide receivers are they going to keep? You got a lot of new players on defense. Who gets the 26? Who gets the 24? Does Flores get the 26 number and O'Connell get the 24 for the offense with the 3 specialists? It's only time will tell, Davey. But the name that I dropped in a little earlier, Jeshaun Jones. Just keep your eyes and ears open for. I ain't saying he's going to make the team.
Jeshaun, okay.
Jeshaun. I believe it's Jeshaun Jones. All right, 3-2. But I ain't saying he's going to make the team, but he is opening eyes and ears on KFAN. Brandon Powell's on the team because he's the best punt returner on the team. So that subsequently might make him, if you want to designate them, JJ 1, Addison 2, then Powell 3. You got Sherfield Jr. and a bunch of others in there. Just, the preseason's ballyhooed for that reason, trying to win spots and change lives.
VikesBites, presented by Thousand Hills Lifetime Grazed Grass-Fed Beef.
I'm a fan of trading for Brandon Ayuk, but the problem is financially speaking, he ain't going to play for anybody until they rip up the deal and redo what he thinks may be a Jefferson-type deal, which it shouldn't be, and then the compensation that you have to give. So I'm playing a little fantasy football dreaming here, but I do believe the Brandon Ayuk getting traded situation is hot. It's quite hot right now and it's quite real. Do I believe he would be traded here? I can't make that prediction. But now that I think there's some real to it, damn, man, Brandon Ayuk on this team would be nice.
If you add Brandon Ayuk, are you potentially then moving on from Jordan Addison?
No, I don't believe that would be the case.
Because I'm curious, based on what's happening here off the field, does that potentially negate his guarantees?
That's a good question.
And I just wonder where heads are at in the room. And of course, as they would do in any circumstance, they've kept this stuff internally. But I'm sure conversations have been had about, let's stop having these things happen just before the season starts, my man.
You bring up an interesting idea that I hadn't thought of. That, if you could trade for Ayuk, and that would be a dynamic chip given in the trade X amount of years from complaining about lot in life and money made or not made.
Yeah.
Like Ayuk is doing now. That's interesting. So I take it from my Dreamscape fantasy football portion of 9 to noon on a day that there's absolutely massive news that has captured the imagination of the nation. Of course, that's the Chicago White Sox have lost 21 consecutive games, very close to setting an American League record. In fact, they probably will do that tonight. But if you want something and you got something nice to give like that, wow, that's a nice little aside.
VikesBites! A guy trying to make the team. His name is Gabriel Murphy, and here he is talking about why he chose to sign with Minnesota.
Just a scheme. I was watching a lot of tape on what Coach Flo did, and I felt like I fit in it. A lot of movement up front, a lot of things, different things he was doing. From a pass rush standpoint, a run stop standpoint, I felt like I fit it the best, and I was ready to get to work.
And he knows Flores and what he wants from him.
From a pass rush standpoint, just get on the edge. I'm a little bit inside. He's moved me all over. I played a little bit of inside linebacker, outside linebacker, so kind of all over the defense wherever he sees me playing. I'm ready to step up to the challenge.
And then lastly, it's all about staying focused for this undrafted rookie. A lot stacked in front of him.
It's my first NFL training camp, so just coming out here and learning the playbook, getting in there, starting to understand guys and how they like to rush. Some of them like upfield, take underneath, whatever it is. Just getting to understand my teammates, because like I said, this is my first NFL training camp, and then just gelling with them, seeing how they like to do, and just doing the little things for them.
So after we move on from this PA, I plan on doing it's effectively a stock. The market had some issues yesterday, some significant, nasty, freaking issues yesterday. So I put together it's super easy. Stock up, stock down on some recent Minnesota Vikings draft picks from where we saw them into camp and where they are today. So that's next. But in terms of Gabe Murphy and his prospects of making this team, there's been some highly touted aspect of it. There's been some oohs and ahs regarding the physicality of this young man in training camp thus far. But there's also, when you think about depth on the team right now and you're playing the wide receiver game, you can play the outside linebacker. You can play that game too.
Yes, sir.
And who gets the extra people. And I'm going through all the names, whether it's Jihad Ward, you got Andre Carter, the undrafted Army cat that's going to want to have a say if he can into camp and such like that. How's Gabriel Murphy sitting with all of this as it stands now?
And it's important as we learned last year when Brian Flores came in or really the year before with Donatel when we were running a 3-4 where the first thing we did was we just kind of looked at body types and weights of the accomplished 3-4 defensive ends and inside guys and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Put this squad together. Daniil jumped out of his skin last year. DJ Wanham jumped out of his skin last year. You had a handful, at least, of players on the Minnesota Vikings last year who had the best seasons of their careers. So now, fast forward to this year. And Kwesi Adofo-Mensah and his staff and the scouts and everything, they're adroit. They're quite good at this college free agency piece. Like Ivan Pace Jr. last year. Gabriel Murphy, he's out there a lot and with the right players at certain times during practice. So if you know what you're looking for, in the times that you're going to get Grenard and Dallas Turner, okay, you'll see that. Well, then, as the 2 and 3 deep goes, who would back them up? Well, that only time will tell Davey. But what about when Turner goes inside on the defensive line and there are 2 stand-up linebackers? Well, now you have Grenard and you have Van Ginkel. Van Ginkel's in this mix too. All right, well, what if Grenard and or Turner are hand in grass in some exotic scheme? Then you have Van Ginkel and who? Maybe Gabriel Murphy, undrafted UCLA. The serendipity of this is, from what I've been told and some things that I've seen, Patrick Jones Jr. is jumping out of his skin right now. So it's the iron sharpens iron bit. This is a big year for Patrick Jones Jr., in my opinion. And from all accounts, camp's going extremely well. But see, this is where the preseason games matter for certain players. Because it's, given they have so many linebackers, with the outside and the inside, I mean, they got it's quite deep. It's actually specifically on the outside, it's gone quite deep. So Patrick Jones Jr., Gabriel Murphy, they'll be battling not necessarily to make the team, but to see who's going to play and why. Because Murphy could play, man.
Mannion's back in, passes over the middle, incomplete.
I just saw that on the button bar.
Hey.
VikesBites, brought to you by Thousand Hills. It's a stock up, stock down PA.
Yeah.
And the guy you were just talking about is actually...
Murphy stock up.
Well, absolutely.
Yeah.
But this list here, you mentioned another individual I wanted to get to, and I will in a moment. So simply enough, into camp, what do we think about these guys? Now, a couple of weeks later, is their stock up? Is their stock crashing? Are we chilling? Where are we at with these guys? And I'm going to start with Cam Bynum, PA.
Loving it.
We're entering the final year of his deal, and there's a little bit of flexibility in the wallets right now with the Minnesota Vikings, but how much urgency is there, do you think, to find a way to re-up Cam as his stock continues to rise in the defensive backfield?
Is he set to be a free agent?
I believe he's a free agent next year.
Hey, well, I may be wrong with this, and if I am, I apologize. I believe young Cameron played more defensive snaps than anybody on the team last year. Would you verify that just top of the head?
It's almost... He played almost. I think he took 9 snaps.
All right,
but
so like him or Metellus.
You're in the mix. It was
okay.
It was really all three of them. It was Metellus, Hitman, and Cam Bynum, who were always on the field.
Well, it's with Cam. If you're playing him that much, and he plays all over the place in different spots, where as I'm learning, it's just so hard to define nickel in a Brian Flores defense because Metellus played nickel a lot last year. I think Bynum played some nickel, extra cornerback responsible for wide receivers. Cameron is very, very important to this defense. May not be the best overall player on the defense, but he's important to the defense. I think his stock is up. I think they're very deep at safety. I think your Saturday guest, Theo Jackson, would start for 10-ish, 12-ish teams in the league. And he's trying to get some time here, and also be a special team stud, but stock up for Cam Bynum, and hopefully the paychecks go up when he gets that new deal.
And you mentioned Patrick Jones. This is a biggie for me, and it's not just kind of sidecarring it with Gabriel Murphy, but this is a guy that found I thought more success at times rushing from the inside versus being a more traditional 4-3 defensive end or outside linebacker.
I sent you a Twitter direct message.
Oh.
And no, not now. And after you ask VikesBites, I'll talk a little longer than usual, which would probably mean 20 minutes instead of 18. And I want you to look at that direct message. And then when I'm done talking, just give me a button bar piece as to what you think.
Okay.
Thank you.
Let's go here then. Caleb Evans, stock up, stock down as he enters the third year
that's a great question.
of his career.
Damn, that's a great question, man. I don't know, okay? I mean, that's a great stock up, stock down question for Gessling. Because he's watched more than me. YA, they've watched more than me. Now, with a Caleb... I just think the stock's flat. It's a flat stock where there's not a lot of volume. And, okay, well, in the stock world yesterday, there were some negative things, is what I'm being told. But he stayed flat. And like when it's a bear market or when it's a bull market, kind of stays flat. And the volume ain't that great.
Yeah.
I just want the volume to increase.
Same.
I mean, if just let the volume of the stock increase with 21, and if we're going to go broke, let's all go broke together. And if the stock's going to triple and split, and we're going to get dividends, well, I want to be part of that too.
Yeah.
But it's just kind of a flat stock that just isn't really moving in my estimation.
I hear you there.
Let me hear it.
I like that.
Let me hear it.
In reference to the direct message you sent.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard.
Yep.
Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened
And on
to
social media. There's no doubt about that. VikesBites.
9:25 on a day just full of just a massive piece of news that has captured the imagination of the nation. And, of course, it's the Chicago White Sox losing 21 consecutive games, which is a game from setting an American League record. And if they lose like three more on top of tonight, well, then they set the Major League Baseball record for most consecutive losses, beating some Phillies clipping penalty from the 80s or the 60s, something like that. So that has captured the imagination of the baseball nation, and 9 to noon is here not only to react to it, but follow it step by step.
Let's do one more for you here. Jaquelin Roy. Jaquelin Roy, second year out of LSU. Didn't get a ton of run a year ago, but now I want to know about big guys in the middle. That's what I want to know into 2024. Yep. I got Jerry Tillery going down. Hopefully it's nothing major and all of that. But Jaquelin Roy, LSU's finest, now a member of the Minnesota Vikings, entering year 2. I need to know that kid's making plays and that's a stock I can buy as we enter the 2024 season.
Stock up. Now, see, the Jaquelin Roy stock, well, that's a stock for the people. I'm not saying it's a penny stock.
I always love that one.
But it's not, we ain't paying $100 a share. So this is one all of us can buy and experience the volatility of it, because there will be volatility. Young man's only in his second year in the National Football League. However, adroit and in-tune stock investors, well, they're prognosticating skills and their instincts with what's going to be bull and what's going to be bear, what's going to take off and what's going to subsequently descend. Well, that's why they're very, very good at what they do. Well, when it comes to these stocks, I want to get into this sucker at $7.72. And then by the time Thanksgiving hits, we're all buying new cars because that sucker went up to 35 and split 3 times, and here we are.
Oh, I hope everyone's seeing something positive like that sooner than later.
Seriously speaking, wonderful camp. Opportunity for somebody with some wiggle and some twitch in the middle or at defensive end. And Roy makes the team, and Roy, I believe, is active on Sundays, and I believe Roy plays a little bit. Thus, the $7 stock, there's an opportunity for the $7 stock to crash and go down to 0 if he's no good, but I'd go the other way. I think we'll be selling that bad boy at $12.22 and just moving on.
And that's VikesBites brought to you by Thousand Hills.
Now, 9 to noon is happy around the corner to welcome in an old friend of ours, speaking of the world of baseball, and his name is Jensen Lewis. He's our beloved J. Lou, and used to pitch for the Cleveland Indians. He's a big wig in the Cleveland market and with the world of baseball. And we have some pertinent topics to share with him, as I just sent you another direct message. That's why I got staccato. Peek at the direct message real quick. And timbertech.com. What's on deck 9 to noon includes all that. Give me a button bar, and we'll go to break.
Jerkus!
This is 9 to noon. I'm Paul Allen. Nordo produces. We'll be right back. Ow.
Before we bring in our next guest, 9 to noon, we follow the local sports scene, and that's certainly the focus of our show, and we'll get to the Minnesota Twins momentarily. But big news outside of our fishbowl, the Arizona Diamondbacks are 15-5 in their last 20, PA. They are crawling and jumping their way up the charts of the NL West. The Arizona Diamondbacks from complete duds to potential studs in the National League. Massive news. Chat boards are filled with it. Keep your eye on that later today.
And for those who caught that big news this morning, which is capturing the imagination of the nation, it's a big one, no doubt about it, like we talked about with the White Sox and now the D-backs. Big news in the neighborhood, and joining us now is one of my very favorites. It's out of sight, out of mind sometimes, not having this guy on the radio more frequently. Jensen Lewis, former Major League Baseball pitcher, analyst for Guardians Live, at JLew50 via the tweet machine. And first, I caught you on MLB radio a couple of mornings ago driving to work, and it just feels like doing that thing from home and getting paid for it. That ain't a bad deal, is it, old J. Lou?
It is. It is great, as always. Good to be with you, PA, and I appreciate you tuning in. And one of those luxuries we have of doing what we do every day, basically covering a kid's game for money, and not a bad way to earn a living, that's for sure. Now,
I caught the final 2.5 innings of your game last night, and D-backs playing well. Corbin Carroll all of a sudden on fire. And I mean, Jose Ramirez last night, I can't remember the box score. It's not in front of me, but I know we had 2 steals in there. I mean, holy cow with Jose. But you got nipped at the wire, and the Twins got the money last night. So it's very cool that we set this up before all of that happened. And by the way, Jensen, I'm going to be in your town with the football team next week. Do you like Stefanski's team this year?
All right, so we'll start with the first part, and yes, it is tightening atop the American League Central, and oh, by the way, how convenient that we'll have 4 games in 3 days starting on Friday up in your neck of the woods there.
Mm-hmm.
So, again, Arizona playing as well as any team, not only in the National League, but in all of baseball with their starting pitching finally getting healthy. Zach Gallen getting touched up last night, but their bullpen was able to hold, and their offense late able to go up against the best bullpen in baseball, and finally Guardians take a little bit of a lump right there. So interested to see how they bounce back with Ben Lively, who's fantastic at home today. As far as the Browns and Stefanski, buddy, we got to figure out who our number 1 receiver is with this Brandon Ayuk news starting to surface here a little bit. But either way, this will be the most difficult division, I think, in football, and to understand what the Ravens are bringing back and what they did this offseason. The Bengals and Joe Burrow have been very outspoken about winning the division, and we'll see if Russ can cook with Justin Fields in Pittsburgh alongside Mike Tomlin. So we have to work cut out for him. But, I mean, you look at that schedule, opening up against the Cowboys at home, and then having to try and navigate a couple of tough road contests. If there's anybody that can do it, it's your main man, Stefanski, and hopefully he gets off to a great start for us.
J. Lou, Cleveland, any sneaky chicken and waffle or comfort food places you like close to downtown? I mean, off the beaten path stuff, like I'd say Pablo's and Shakopee here. What do you got?
All right, so I would say that down where, and depending on where you are, we won't disclose that, but wherever you're staying, I know that Lucky's and the West Side Market are probably the 2 that really jump to mind. Probably a little bit jump in an Uber there and get it done, but those for sure. Over on West 25th, it's a hop, skip, and a jump from where you're at.
Thank you.
But the West Side Market, you can't go wrong with. So Lucky's or West Side Market, those would be my 2 recommendations right off the bat.
You're the best. What's that Big Play Cleveland show I saw you join, peeking at your Twitter? I mean, my man has his hand in multiple cookie jars.
You'll see it. Actually, their studio's right down at Burke Lakefront Airport, just a few blocks from the stadium. So, yeah, they've done really great things here the last year or 2, and now it's starting to come to prominence. So do a little Bringing the Heat every Monday morning with them, and that airs all week. So you're going to get your fill of me, buddy, whether it's in person or whether it's on the airwaves. You'll be ready to be rid of me by the time you leave here.
Nope. I'm a fan, and I have all your albums, including your greatest hits. Now, this division, all right, Guardians, you got your squad, the Twins, or the Royals. Let's begin there. Who gets the money in the division?
Yeah, and I picked your squad at the beginning of the year, PA, because I think when it's all said and done, I really had more faith in the length of the rotation and knowing what Pablo Lopez and Joe Ryan and particularly Bailey Ober have done. It makes all the sense in the world that you make that turn every 5 days. It feels like there's enough there to be able to lock down some of the offenses that might be playing much better than anticipated. As well as I do, it comes down to the head-to-head, and I think it goes a long way in Friday's double dip, and we'll see what the pitching probables may be with Alex Cobb coming back off of rehab. Perhaps Tristan McKenzie is in there. We'll kind of see what Stephen Vogt wants to do. But I think ultimately it's Royce Lewis, man. I mean, what a difference maker and a vibe. The aura around your club when he's in that lineup is 100 times different and better than when he's not. And that's even with Carlos Correa waiting in the wings. And if he comes back, we know what his track record is against Cleveland. Kansas City has been just ridiculous. I figured, PA, that they would fall off at some point. Trying to keep the pace that they were at would be a real tall task. But credit where it's due. Their rotation has been ridiculously good with Reagans and Lugo. The young guys in Brady Singer having a great year, and now the back end of the bullpen getting Hunter Harvey and Lucas Hershig. They're there, and we may be witnessing one of the greatest young players of our time in Bobby Wood Jr., what he's put together so far. I said at the beginning of the year, I think I stand by it, PA. This division comes down to the final weekend of the season.
And wow, you just laid it out beautifully. I mean, how cool are the alphas for these three teams? Jose Ramirez, who's a handful and had 2 steals last night. Royce Lewis, who you love. Bobby Witt Jr., who we all love. And then the pitching situation. I like how you laid that out too, because it's okay. So for the Guardians, top 3 for now, with Allen just coming back, I would imagine would it be Bibby, Lively, and the skeletal remains of Carlos Carrasco?
It's probably going to be Bybee, and then you'll probably go with Lively, and then they're trying to get Gavin Williams into that spot where the stuff has been there, PA. Mm-hmm. Results may not dictate, how he's thrown the ball. It's been maybe a mistake or two that has ballooned outside of this last outing where Baltimore hit him around pretty good. But I would say those are your top 3 that they would want to go into a playoff series. At the moment, it would probably be Bybee, Lively, and Gavin Williams.
Is the Cleveland bullpen still top-notch, super reliable? Like, eliminate maybe some things from last night. Just overall, is it something on which you absolutely can count?
I think as long as they're healthy at the end of the year, and that's all predicated on getting fellow Minnesota native there, Sam Hentges, back, and how critical he's been not only this year but in years past in those leverage spots. So you think they go at least 6 deep with Clase, Gaddis, Cade Smith, Hentges, Timmy Herron, and Scott Barlow. They've pieced it together with Nick Sandlin and Pedro Avila and maybe some of the throwaway innings. But yeah, I legitimately 5-6 guys at the very minimum that you can rely upon, and more importantly, PA, have been in those leverage spots since day one. I think that was by design from Stephen Vogt, because he believed, and I'm sure of it, that when they looked at this rotation coming out of spring training, they were going to have to baby Bieber and McKenzie anyway coming off injury, and then be really mindful of the innings of the rookies and Bybee, Logan Allen, and Gavin Williams. I think this bullpen knew from day one they'd be tasked with an incredible workload. They've made it stand up this far, but they've got to get it to the finish line now.
Top 3 for the Twins, Ryan, Ober, and Pablo. Royals, as you mentioned, would hit you with Singer, Reagans, and/or Lugo. Just how formidable do you think all of that is? You like Ryan, Ober, and Pablo Lopez, don't you?
I just think that you guys possess a lot of swing and miss, and as you well know, and from we watched the postseasons of the last 3 to 5 years, if you got guys particularly in your rotation, in your big 3 in the back of your bullpen that can generate that kind of swing and miss. And I even feel like this 4-game series in 3 days coming up, PA, this weekend, it's the race to have a lead after 5 innings.
Yep.
Because if you look at Duran and Jax and what they do to shorten games, and then just how you can match up with what Sands has done with Dilbar. Of course, we've seen him plenty. There's a lot of depth on both sides of these bullpens. And so for me, it feels like it's a 5-inning game. Whichever team has the lead after 5 is really in the catbird seat.
All right. Appreciate you, and probably see you next week for coffee after you complete, let's say, MLB Radio, the Clevelander Show, double play with Bruce Drennan, and all the side piece pay that you are amassing.
Coffee's on me, and hey, if we could squeeze in some dinner at some point, we'll do that too.
Oh, wait. So, J-Lo.
Gotcha.
I'm doing my radio show at an undisclosed downtown hotel from a ballroom next to a lobby 10-1 just for fun. I mean, you have to stop by like Wednesday or Thursday just for a second, right?
Might have to do that. Absolutely. Give me the details, and we'll make it happen, brother.
You're the best. I can't wait to see you, man. Thank you very much, Jensen.
Likewise. Talk to you next week.
J. Lou. That's cool, man. J. Lou just booked a guest for the Cleveland clip next week. It's 9:44. Camp cuts are next. Camp cuts momentarily from around the National Football League, but we recognize there is massive news today. Everybody is discussing, and quite honestly, it has captured the imagination of the nation. You know, Brandon Ayuk may be traded today to the New England Patriots or the Cleveland Browns, but this is very real. Camp cuts.
Camp cuts. I have a couple of cuts in here, and you know what? We're going to continue down that road. Massive news. George Kittle, tight end, San Francisco 49ers?
Familiar.
Yeah, here he is, and I think I even played this audio a couple of weeks ago. Let's listen.
I love Brandon. He's a fantastic teammate. He does everything that you want him to do as a wide receiver, including taking touchdowns from me once in a while, which I'm totally okay with. But he's just such a dynamic receiver, and he's just such a very important part of our offense. So, yes, getting Brandon Ayuk the money that he deserves is, I hope nothing but the best for him. There's unfortunately not much that I can do to help out with that, except just cheer him on from the sidelines. And hopefully we figure something out because he's one of my favorite teammates I've had.
Okay, well, that's the player's perspective. Loves his guy, and he's a dynamic receiver. We get all that. So Brandon Ayuk. But what about John Lynch? Oh, no, he did it.
We fully intend on Brandon being a Niner moving forward. We're always open to listen to things. But like I said, we expect Brandon to be an integral part of our team like he has been, and excited about that.
So the most recent DM I sent you, I promise, will not ruin your day. So I'm just going to chat here for 1 second so you get a chortle out of this one. Go ahead and look at my man's response. All right, 3-2. That's what they all say. Now, like the general manager, he didn't make a guarantee that Ayuk would be on the team, but Brandon is not budging. And either is Trent Williams, the left tackle, who also is not at camp in like his 100th year, and he wants more money, and he's probably still one of the, if not the best left tackles in the NFL. But just to report again, with the massive news that's bouncing around, capturing the imagination of the nation, let 9 to noon be the first one to tell you, as of now, Ayuk has not been fired. What did you think of that last one?
I did like it. I liked you switching it up, and it is the Pats and Browns apparently that have some things in the mix.
Braxton Berrios is like, Father! Yeah, we're going to talk in code all show today for the only time in the history of 9 to noon or 10 to 1 just for fun, and that's how it's going to be.
I saw this. I don't have the audio of it, but I saw this, and we did talk about the Cowboys yesterday. But Mike Zimmer, of course, he's going to be handling some defensive duties down there, and he's got Micah Parsons. And here's what Micah Parsons said. I'm not just learning the defense. They got me understanding the defense as a whole. Protection plans, understanding why the slide is going to be under here, where my opportunities are going to be, why they ID the mic, why we bring the safety down, and why it changes to the mic, and why they might slide to that side instead of our side, and why the blitz is going to come this way. I would just say they're increasing my football intelligence. It's not just about the system. I believe one day they're putting me in position to coach or something because every day is different.
Right.
All head coaching tenure related bits, let's just push that to the side for a moment. Mm-hmm. Mike Zimmer getting to work with Micah Parsons is pretty bleeping awesome.
Well, I haven't looked at their roster of late. What would be even more awesome is if Jaron Kerr still were on the team. And just knowing like how things went here with Curse. But Mike will get the best out of that squad if they listen and if they follow the detail. Mike is one of the elite defensive minds in the history of the National Football League, and they'll be better if they listen. Question is, do Cowboys listen? There's a lot of me first agendas with the Dallas Cowboys, and that some could say that includes the owner, who, by the way, also is the general manager, if you didn't know that. So the Me First covenant, which is me first on many, 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 many levels with the star and the helmet, They just continue to navigate and or grease the wheels of noisy bad dreams.
Sadly for Jaron Curse, he is currently a free agent. He is not.
So is Kellen Mond. Because when I was writing the Jaron Hall bit, like when I wrote, play well because then maybe there could be a trade. Ain't trying to run anybody out of town. But then I was going to be like, think about it. Kellen Mond is still in the league, and Jaron's better than Kellen Mond. Well, the Saints signed him in April, and then I think he might have been gone like 15 minutes later.
May 8th.
Yeah.
They
kept him 2 weeks, which means their third quarterback was probably hurt for some form of camp, and they needed a camp arm.
Well, and they drafted Spencer Rattler as well.
They got Rattler.
They did in New Orleans.
But you can make a lot of money being the 3 to Carr and Rattler,
He got cut by a guy that was drafted like a round later than him, I think. Ooh. Was he 4th or 5th round?
Jaron Hall is better than Kellen Mond. There's room for Jaron Hall in the National Football League. Let's see if he changes the plays over the weekend and does what he wants to do with KOC's prime cuts that he doesn't want anybody to see in a preseason game.
Speaking of prime cuts, D'Amico Ryans, he's not worried about that. His guys are going to get reps.
When it comes to the snaps and preseason thing, everybody's trying to figure out. Some teams don't play starters, some play. I truly believe in that a guy needs to get reps in a preseason game, right? We don't go to the ground, as you see, the way we practice. We try to keep guys up and be as safe as possible in practice. I think everybody needs that opportunity to go to the ground a couple times in the game to just get up, dust yourself off, and know you're good, right? And I'm okay. Like, I can't go to the ground and get up, so you just have to go through and play live reps of football before live action comes in September. So you'll see our ones go out and get reps this week versus Pittsburgh.
How about that? So he's going to put C.J. Stroud in the mix. I mean, Stephon just got off the plane. He's new to the mix. And Case Keenum says it's just like the old days. I mean, Case loves being able to talk about the miracle, loves talking about his time in Minnesota with Stephon. Yeah. Now there's back together again.
The time he threw for Houston and Clint Kubiak played for Colorado State, and the game was on the line, and Clint picked him off back left of the end zone with a 40-inch vertical. Case brings that up, too.
You know, what's interesting, his memory was always a little foggy on that one. There's no doubt. But how about that? So, while some teams, they're going to hide everything, the prime cuts, as you say.
Yeah.
D'Amico Ryans and the future eventual Super Bowl champion Houston Texans. No, we're getting out there. All Everybody needs reps. And that's a truncated edition of Camp Cuts for you.
Well, let's take that a step farther. Something that I am saving for tomorrow.
Ooh.
Okay, because when it popped yesterday... It popped, it's via The Athletic, and somebody who covers the Raiders. I can't remember the name, like Torin Red or something like that.
Tim Kawakami.
But I'm starting to read up on the Raiders a little bit in cursory fashion. And then, like in my man story, I don't know if it's via press conference, if it's this guy's opinion. That's why I need to vet it out a little bit. But he wrote, and Antonio Pierce has said that he's going to play his ones in this first preseason game.
Oh my gosh.
So I'm like, okay, I got to put a little time into this. Like last week I made a joke. I don't care if it's Max Crosby or Crosby, Stills, and Nash. Damn, I didn't think it'd really be Max Crosby. But that's for another time.
Well, I gotta find the audio. I didn't have it, and I could have included in this. But Antonio, within the last day or two, was basically saying, can one of these quarterbacks show a pulse, please?
Right.
And Aiden O'Connell has actually earned the first-year reps or first-team reps, excuse me.
It's bad.
It's not good.
No, it's bad.
He's absolutely pissed off now.
They had a training camp practice within the last 5 days where the quarterbacks combined for 7 interceptions.
I always love that one.
Well, yeah, but his defense must be really, really good. Actually, with Crosby and Wilkins up front, it is really good, that part of it, but that's for another day. It's approaching 10 o'clock. We have a scribe awaiting outside of double doors, which are adjacent to 4 elevator doors, and I need to go get him. His name is Ben Gessling, and you're listening to KFAN.